Hello and welcome back to my channel. I am Jordan and today I'm here with a book review actually of Patsy, which came as a recommendation from my subscribers on our live. We had a live maybe 2 weeks ago now, I think, and Patsy just kept coming up and I was like, I will check it out. My library actually does carry it, and by carry it, I mean they carry it via audio. For those of you who are not aware, you know, the library offers several different features, one of those being partnering with apps such as Libby, Overdrive, RB Digital. So, you know, the library is still a great friend during these times, if not even more so for me. I've really been leaning on audiobooks, and that's not what this video is about. This video is about Patsy. So my thoughts on Patsy. Before I get into that, let me just give a general overview. Patsy is essentially a novel where the main character, Patsy, has an opportunity to come to the U.S. The caveat here is she is a mother with a young daughter, and, you know, she decides to leave the daughter behind. So it's kind of navigating, you're leaving your daughter behind and you're going to this new country, the U.S., to hopefully make a better life. But really, there's more to it than just that. She's going to the U.S. because a good friend of hers, without spoiling too much of the book, is there, and they're best friends, and they've been corresponding since her best friend left to the U.S., and she has this dream and being reunited with her friend. And that's kind of the gist of what you know about the book. It also follows Patsy's daughter, True, as she is going up through all of this, or growing up through all of this. And it's a really amazing book. So I gave a general overview of Patsy, but some of the themes and things that Patsy deals with: motherhood, of course, it deals with gender, it deals with sexuality, it deals with sexual abuse as well. So that's kind of a trigger warning for those of you to know that, you know, sexual abuse is involved in the novel. It deals with friendship, and it deals with identity, and definitely social class. It touches on a lot of different things, but in a natural everyday life. What I feel like I loved most about Patsy was I found myself sympathizing with Patsy even when I didn't necessarily agree with her decisions. I feel like it was a full holistic view of a character, very well developed character. The way Nicole gets you into the story and has you along this journey, and you don't even realize that you're uncovering these layers of Patsy's life. It's just beautifully done. I felt like it was very, very great character development. I also loved True. I actually wanted more of True. Like the novel takes place where you're following Patsy and True, which is Patsy's daughter, throughout the novel. It's at different periods and ages and years throughout the life. And anytime True would come on, I'm like, I really want to know even more about you, True. So a question I want to pose to you all: comment below and let me know, who was your favorite character? If you read the book, who was your favorite character to hear about or just know about within the book? I went back and forth between True and Patsy. I was most intrigued with True, but I cannot lie to you all, I loved Patsy. Like, Patsy was my favorite character, which I think if a writer can make someone who, you know, you don't necessarily agree with, you flawed characters, we're all flawed human beings. So you make this character who is very flawed, but that is very interesting and just very engaging, and that you find yourself rooting for, even though to you they did one of the most heartbreaking things. I think that's just beautiful writing, and that was my favorite character. So I would love to know what's y'all's. From this point of the review, I will go into a little bit further deep dive. So if you actually have not read the book yet, I would suggest, you know, exiting out, because I'm going to talk about the actual book. Being that so many of my subscribers read it, I actually want to engage and talk to you guys about it. But if you haven't, go ahead and exit out. Okay, so I gave the warning, so now let's get into it. So within the novel, Patsy actually decides to leave her daughter True behind and kind of becomes a deadbeat mother. Let's talk about it. So I just struggled with seeing True grow up, and then the fact that I was hoping she would forget Patsy. Like, I was like, please forget Patsy. Like, your stepmother, she wants a daughter. This is the perfect opportunity. Let this lady just sweep you up and let this be your new mama. But it's like, no, as a child, like, of course you're going to, nothing was really explained to you. Your mother told you she's coming back. Even if you kind of maybe stop believing it throughout the years, that is your mother and that's who you grew up with. But at the same time, it's just interesting because it's like if it was a dad who left that child behind and went off, I feel like it wouldn't be as big of a deal. It would just kind of be like, well, that person's in America and, you know, dudes will be dudes, basically, you know. But Patsy, although like she loves True, it's interesting how you could love somebody and know that you are not good for them, or not necessarily that you're not good for them, but that you don't want this. Like, this is just not what you want. And it's like one of the most like heartbreaking things for me reading that from True's perspective, like to not have any resolution. How selfish can you be? You should at least give your child that resolution. But at the same time, Nicole wrote it in such a way where I empathized with Patsy and I understood Patsy's struggle, and I was rooting for her to have her life. I was actually rooting for her to get her happy ending. It's really interesting, you know, from that standpoint. True's stepmother, like even delving into the lifestyle of certain households where it is like the guy just can literally do whatever he wants and he can screw all these different people, come home, and she has nothing to say. You bring this child that you had out of like wedlock, you just bring them up, I'm raising them, I'm doing this, and you're still cheating on me. Like, it's just like, what the heck? Like, I had so much in this book that was like, had me engrossed and had me wanting to know what happens next and what develops next. And I kind of wanted True to be able to be open and to be able to be herself and to not fear, like, you know, the street harassment or just basically the harassment and abuse in general, for her just being who she is. And the fact that Patsy literally was willing to risk everything and leave this country just so she could be with the woman that she loves. Like, that's crazy, you know? That's just, and that's a whole nother thing. Like, when she gets to America, I can go on and on about this book, but like when she gets to America, and it's crazy because it's like the choices that women be making, like not all women, but sometimes that you feel like you have to make. Like, it was a real heart to heart moment when Patsy was talking with her best friend, Cicely, and, you know, it's like Cicely chose this life, but, you know, Cicely is literally, was this the best choice for her life? Like, when you are being with someone because, you know, you have this kid with them and you need them to provide, and, you know, you don't want to be out on the street being alone, so you kind of swallow that pill. But, you know, it's he's abusing you, he's verbally abused, all this other stuff, and it's just like you want her to get out, but then she doesn't. I loved how the book touched on the fantasy of America. Later in the novel, there's that section with Patsy, who runs into someone who she knew back home, some man who it's obvious he's working at the supermarket. He's working, you know, a job that he's embarrassed of. And, you know, he's trying to act like he's not working there because he doesn't want the news to get back home, like he came all the way to America and he's over here struggling. And that was just a very, I could visualize it. Like, that was a scene to me in my head, like a very pivotal scene in my head where I'm like, dang, I know exactly what that kind of whole interaction, I could see the facial expressions, I can see all of it, you know? And how Patsy, on the same flip side, even though she's out and she's proud, but at the same time, she's still, because of the culture, because of the situations in Jamaica, she doesn't necessarily want her personal life of her being in a relationship with a woman to get back to Jamaica, which is crazy and sad. But it's like, it's just interesting how those things play out in the various communities that you're within. I really appreciated the ending of the book. There's so many times when I read books and I'm so engaged and I'm so like I'm just so invested into the characters, and then the book ends crazy in a situation where it was like the person just stopped being creative and was like, I got all the interesting stuff out of me. The end. I felt like this book really had a good ending where it took us on a full cycle journey. I like that it didn't give us the cliche that Patsy was just going to be like, okay, and get back with Cicely. Like, you know, I like that Patsy really evaluated everything and saw what she wanted out of life and, you know, made a decision that I felt was realistic. Like, I felt like that was just the most realistic ending. Like, for her to end up, if Patsy and Cicely had ended up together, it would have been really weird for me. Just because I'd been like, what? So we're just going to forget all these decades and all this other stuff? Like, no. And then, yeah. So I appreciated that ending. I also liked that there was some resolution with True. We got to see how that story developed. And I like that it wasn't like everything just came out where all these secrets unhashed between True and Patsy and they told each other everything. They were really just getting to know each other again. And I felt like it was a realistic ending. It was a realistic ending that gave you closure to the point where you know where the story ends. And a lot of times when I read, I don't get that. So I really like this book a lot. One of the things that I did not like within the book, which that's besides the point, was I just didn't understand the point of putting that suicide in there. That was a little triggering for me. It just was like, and came out of nowhere, and it was a little trauma induced for me. So all in all, I gave the book, I believe, either 4 or 5 stars on Goodreads, but it was really like 4.5 stars for me. I thought the book was amazing. I would love to hear more from you all. Comment below some of your favorite points or things that I didn't touch on, or if you want to elaborate. Basically, let's just have a conversation now that I have read the book, so we could talk about it more. Anyways, I will catch you guys in the next one. Love and light and deuces.